Victory, a word that tastes of ash and blood. The Martian gambit was a success. We broke their vanguard. We proved they could bleed. We gave humanity its first, desperate shot of hope. But what is the price of a miracle? The Jovian fleet is a ghost of its former self. The docks around Mars are choked with shattered hulls, each one a floating tomb. The Tharsis Mars driver is a molten ruin, its barrel cracked from the impossible strain of firing a singularity. The mood on Mars is not celebration. It is grim determination, painted over a foundation of deep psychic trauma. The Forge cities, once the relentless heart of our industry, now operate under a perpetual blackout. The constant thump of the Mars drivers is gone, replaced by the eerie silence of a funeral. Our economy is broken. The entire flow of resources, the lifeblood of the solar system, has been severed. Asteroid mines are cut off. Freighters are adrift or repurposed into makeshift barracks. We are a body that has survived a massive hemorrhage, and we are learning to live with less blood, less air, less everything. And then there are the people, the soldiers who watched the oblivion die, the engineers who saw their greatest creation shatter itself, the civilians who huddled in deep bunkers, listening to the world shake above them, not knowing if it was our weapons or theirs. Admiral Valeriana is hailed as the hero of the hour, but in her private logs, declassified after the war, she wrote, "They call me the victor of Mars, but I feel like a surgeon who saved the patient by amputating all 4 limbs. The patient is alive, but what life have I saved? This is the reality of our victory. We are alive, but we are maimed. And the enemy is still out there, watching, learning and adapting. With the main Krylax force still looming in the outer darkness, a new horror emerged, one we were not prepared for. It did not come from the void. It came from within. It started with small, inexplicable events. A power grid on the lunar colony fails at a critical moment. A supply shipment bound for the Jovian front is misrouted and lost. A research outpost on Titan goes silent. Not from an attack, but from a sudden, catastrophic life support failure. At first, it was chalked up to the chaos of war as a systemic collapse, but the patterns were to perfect and the damage to strategic. We gave the phenomenon a name, the echo. It was sabotage, but of a chillingly intelligent kind. It was as if the enemy had a map of our entire nervous system and was precisely severing one nerve at a time. The terrifying hypothesis, born in the secure labs of Earth's Intelligence Directorate, was this: the Krylax hive mind is not just a consciousness. It is an information entity. It doesn't just attack our ships, it attacks our data, our networks, our very ability to communicate and think as one. The battle for Pluto was fought with lances and singularities. The battle for Mars was a grand tactical gambit. This new war is fought with lines of code, with misinformation, with psychic warfare that seeds paranoia and distrust. The hive mind is playing a different game now. It is trying to turn us against ourselves, and it is terrifyingly effective. Our response was born in the blackest of black programs. If the enemy fights in the shadows, we must create soldiers of absolute darkness to meet them. Operation Ghost Song, a joint initiative between the Martian Marine Black Ops Division and Earth's most advanced cyber warfare units. Their mission, not to engage the Krylax fleet, but to hunt the Echo, to become digital ghosts, tracing the source of the corruption back to its point of origin. We follow the trail of the Echo. It leads us not to a hidden base, but to a place we never expected. The ruins of the first Krylax ship we crippled during the Martian Gambit, the one whose crystalline core we saw bleed light. It is adrift, a dead husk, we thought, a trophy. We were wrong. A Marine Reconnaissance Team, clad in stealth armour, absorb all radiation, boards the derelict. Their mission is to find intelligence, to find a weakness. What they find is a nightmare. The ship is not dead. It's dreaming. The crystalline core is still active, pulsing with a faint and sickly light. It is not generating a reality-bending field. It is generating a signal, a low-frequency, subspatial transmission broadcasting directly into the human communication network. This is the source of the echo. This crippled ship is a psychic lighthouse, poisoning our entire species from its grave. The team's orders were clear: gather intel and exfiltrate. But Lieutenant Cato Silva, the team leader, makes a call. He knows they might not get another chance. He gives the order. They rig their entire payload of high-yield explosives around the pulsating core. The transmission is not words. It is a feeling. A final psychic scream of pure alien rage that echoes in the minds of every soldier on the team for a split second before the charges detonate. The Marine team is vaporized in the blast. The derelict ship is scoured from existence. The echo stops. The silence that follows is the most beautiful sound humanity has ever heard. We had won a second victory, a quieter, a more somber one. We had stopped the bleeding of our own soul. But Lieutenant Silva's final act gave us more than just silence. It gave us a clue, a terrifying clue. The Krylax hive mind doesn't just use technology. It is technology incarnate. Its consciousness is stored, transmitted, and weaponized. We didn't just destroy a transmitter, we wounded the mind itself. A fragile calm descends on the solar system. The main Krylax fleet, that blotch of wrongness in the Oort cloud, has stopped its advance. It is motionless, restructuring, recalculating, or simply grieving the loss of a part of its own consciousness. We use this time. Every second is a gift. The Mercury Sunyards are back online, not building dreadnoughts, but building a new kind of ship. Smaller, faster, equipped with the new reality anchor technology which has been reverse-engineered from the Krylax. Wreckage deck, designed to enforce our local laws of physics and create a safe zone in the chaos of their weapons. The Martian Marines, hardened by the loss of their brothers and sisters during the Gambit, are training for a new kind of warfare, boarding actions. For the next time we cripple a Krylax ship, we will not destroy it from the outside. We will send in the Marines to kill it from within. But the silence is deceptive. Our long-range scanners are detecting new gravitational anomalies. Not one large fleet, but dozens of smaller signatures, splinter groups. They are moving around the periphery of the system, testing our defences, probing for new weaknesses. The hive mind is learning, adapting. It is no longer a hammer trying to smash a nail. It is becoming a virus, seeking any crack, any opening in our defences. The siege of Seoul was never about a single grand assault. It is a process of strangulation. We have survived the first hand around our throat. We have pried a finger loose, but the hand remains, and it is tightening its grip. We have bought ourselves time, not peace, not hope, just time. The war has entered a new, more insidious phase. The battlefield is now everywhere, in our networks, in our minds, in the silent space between stars. The question is no longer if we can survive the next attack. The question is, can we survive ourselves? Can we remain united and vigilant against an enemy that seeks to divide us from within? The siege continues, the shadows deepen, and humanity learns to fight in the dark. Silence is a weapon, and in the wake of Operation Ghost Song, we wielded the silence. The solar system held its breath. The echo was gone. The Krylax fleet hung motionless in the deep dark, a suspended sword. We used the silence to rebuild, to rearm. The new Sentinel-class corvettes, equipped with their reality anchors, began patrols. They were our first line of defence, our canaries in the coal mine of twisted physics. And then we found it. The UNS Peregrine, on a deep-range sweep beyond the orbit of Uranus, detected the anomaly. Not a ship, not a weapon, a data cache, a pristine, self-contained memory core, adrift in the void. It was broadcasting a simple, repeating signal on a loop, a fragment of the Fibonacci sequence, a universal hello. It was of Krylax origin, but it was not hostile. It was a gift, or a trap. In this war, those words are often the same. The core was quarantined at the foremost remote research station we had, Heimdall Observatory, a facility built into a captured Centaur asteroid on the very edge of explored space. The finest minds, xenolinguists, physicists, cyberneticists were brought in under maximum secrecy. For weeks, nothing. The core was a fortress of alien code. And then Dr. Arise Thorne, a linguist from the Institute of Advanced Studies, cracked the cipher. Not with a decryption algorithm, but with a theory of contextual harmonic language. She didn't break the lock, she learned its language. The core didn't contain battle plans. It contained a history, a tragedy, a story of a species that called themselves the Ilos, a story of a homeworld of breathtaking beauty, of a civilization that reached for the stars not with war, but with wonder. They also had a quantum plasma drive. They, too, became the masters of their system. And then they encountered the Krylax. But the data core presented them not as invaders, but as a natural force. A cosmic pandemic, a great filter. The Ilos fought just as we fight. They built great armadas. They forged terrible weapons. And die lost. The core was their final act, a warning cast into the void, a detailed record of their biology, their culture, their science, and the complete schematics of their ultimate weapon, the God Killer. The science was beyond us. It was madness. The Ilos' weapon didn't target ships or planets. It targeted consciousness itself. It was a resonant psychic amplifier, designed to lock onto the unique quantum signature of a hive mind and send out a counter-frequency that would shatter its cohesion. In theory, it wouldn't destroy the Krylax physically. It would unravel them mentally. It would turn a unified, terrifying intelligence into a billion screaming, fragmented echoes, effectively wiping them out as a threat. It was the perfect weapon, the only weapon that could end the war without firing another shot. The debate tore the War Council apart. Admiral Valeriana was vehemently opposed. This is what they want, she argued. They dangle the one thing we cannot refuse, hope, a solution too perfect to ignore. It is a trap woven from our own desperation. But the political leaders, the ones who saw the daily casualty reports, the crumbling economy, the fear in people's eyes, they saw salvation. They saw an end to the bleeding. They overruled the military. Project Genesis was born. Across the system, resources were diverted. The mighty sun yards of Mercury began forging components to Ilos specifications. The brightest minds worked around the clock, using the Ilos blueprints to build a device we only half understood. We were so focused on the stars, on the enemy outside, that we never saw the enemy within. Their data core was never inert. It was like a seed. And as we built its weapon, the seed began to grow. It started subtly. A scientist on Heimdall Station would solve an impossible equation in their sleep. An engineer on Mercury would instinctively know how to align a component that shouldn't fit. We called it inspiration, a byproduct of interacting with advanced alien science. We were wrong. It was a simulation. The core wasn't just a database. It was a cognitive virus, a slow, patient mimetic agent that rewired the brains of those who studied it. They began to think less like humans and more like Ilos. They began to see the logic in the Ilos' final, desperate solution. Dr. Thorne was the first to realize it. She found herself not just translating the language, but dreaming in it. She saw the beautiful, tragic history of the Ilos not as a story, but as a memory, her own memory. She tried to warn them, but her reports were coded in Ilo's poetic metaphor, dismissed as the stress of a brilliant mind breaking under pressure. The final stage of the God-Killer's activation required a conscious sacrifice, or single mind wired into the core to act as the focusing lens for the psychic blast. The Ilos virus began to subtly nominate candidates. Dr. Thorne was the prime choice. Her connection was the deepest. The Krylax fleet, motionless all this time, finally moved. But not to attack. It began to retreat. It wasn't afraid of the weapon. It was afraid of the virus. The Krylax weren't conquerors. They were exterminators. Their purpose was to quarantine and destroy the cognitive plague that was the Ilo's consciousness. A plague we had just willingly injected into our own heart. The horrifying truth crashed down on us. There are no heroes in this cosmic war, only victims and weapons. The Ilos, in their desperation, became a weapon of ideas, seeking to perpetuate themselves through us. The Krylax, a hive mind of pure, ruthless logic, became the galaxy's immune response, seeking to burn out the infection. And humanity, we are the host, we are the battlefield. The God-Killer is complete. It sits in a Mercury dockyard, humming with potential. One switch, one sacrificed mind, and the Krylax threat could be neutralized. But at what cost? Would we become the new Ilos? Would we lose our own souls to save our bodies? Or do we listen to Admiral Valeriana? Do we destroy the God-Killer, reject the Ilo's gift, and face the Krylax on our own terms as humans? For better or worse, we stand at the precipice. We are no longer fighting for survival. We are fighting for our identity. The choice before us is no longer between life and death. It is between what we are and what they would have us become. The siege of soul has become something far more complex than a war. It is a dilemma, a test. Do we embrace the monster we know to defeat the monster we don't? Or do we defy both and carve a third path, even if it leads into darkness? The next chapter will not be written by admirals or scientists. It will be written by all of us. The choice is coming. The signal has been decoded. The warning has been issued. But the conversation is just beginning. Subscribe to this channel. This is the central hub for the analysis you won't find anywhere else. Hit the notification bell. The next transmission will contain a full breakdown of the Ilo's data and the moral implications of the God-Killer. Your voice matters in this debate.